So I was talking about religion earlier this week. So I just wanted to share, because like today is Maundy, Thursday. I think that's how you say it. But when I was growing up at the Baptist Church of Holy Communion, U City, hey, my church. We used to go to church on that day, and what would happen, it was like a foot washing service, because in the Bible, Jesus washed the feet of his disciples on that day, and basically that was like our pastor, serving, doing that for us as our shepherd, washing our feet. Now, our church, by no means, my church and my pastor were not perfect. Not at all, right? Because people aren't perfect, right? And I don't require perfection from preachers. I don't. But one of the things that was great about the church that I grew up in, we were a family. Like, we were really family. Not everybody was family. I'm sure that it was some people that didn't like so-and-so and they clashed or whatever. But we were a family. So I remember we used to be in church all the time. But we really enjoyed being together. And it was through the church that I got like a family. When my mom was laid off from her job, well, basically fired, but they called it laid off. And she had no money to take care of me. And I started living with one of the ladies that went to our church, Eufaula Thornton, and became family. I mean, had already became like family anyway, but I went and lived with her for about a year. And my mama used to come over and visit me. So we really did have family. But our pastor, one thing that I loved about him is that he created an atmosphere of family, love, and service. Everybody still gave their money to the church and all that stuff. And we had a building fund forever. But getting a bigger building was not his thing. He was not really, that wasn't what he wanted to do. I don't even think that he really cared about like having this massive church. I don't know. I don't know. But he did try to, create fun, love, service. He did that. And so when I think about churches today, haven't been at all church, so I'm not really dissing everybody's church, but I'm just like, I hope that it is like where it's a service, right? Where people feel like the pastor is not just a person that tell them what to do and they give him all the money and they make him a hero or whatever, but that he actually services them when they're sick. I remember when my mom was dying, our pastor, and he hadn't been my pastor in forever, but he called when she died, make sure I was okay. The church that I went to in Orlando, they called. It's like they were in service, and the people they kept it because somebody told them, because I didn't call. Somebody called them and told them, hey, this is going on with Ruth. Oh, let me call Raquel. Let me see how she doing. And I had those conversations with. So that to me, it's like service. People who have a service mentality. And I hope that is what churches are, doing. Love, service, and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to speak on pastors. I'm not going to do that. But I do know that today is a day that's what Jesus did. And I would be interested to know, people who remember that happened at their churches. Is still happening in churches where they're having the foot washing services where the pastor is actually washing the feet. Some people are like, well, what does that mean? Like, why does you have to do that? Well, I mean, like, I feel like it just means I'm giving service, that you are not beneath me. I can wash your feet, right? So I would just, comment and let me know if churches are still doing that. Do y'all remember that back in, when y'all were growing up in churches? Is that something that was happening? So I was talking like I don't go to church, but it's not like I don't believe in church. I do. Chad, I think you said the church is, where we gather to, fellowship with one another. And I wholeheartedly believe that. It's just that it's hard to fellowship with people who think they're better than you. It's hard to fellowship with people who have a disdain for you. And that's what I think that's the issue, is because the church is really for a place where we fellowship together. Then it's really important that the people who are the church, it's really important that we present, that we present a loving atmosphere for people to want to come and fellowship. So if people aren't going to church, it's not to though people who aren't going to church, is for the churches to try to figure out, why don't the people want to come and fellowship with us? I'm on social media a lot, and I heard a lady preaching horribly about Beyonce lyrics and all these other people, and they talking about, their spirituality has messed up the church, and that's why the church people are depressed. No, that ain't why the church people are depressed. First of all, Beyonce has never, at least I've never heard her say that she is a pastor and that she is, the people who you should go to for spiritual counseling. Beyonce, I know, is an entertainer. She does, she sings, she has a platform. But if you really look at Beyonce, don't really get on her platform, and she don't get on social media and talk all this. She don't do that. That's not who she is. She's not trying to be somebody's spiritual guide. I've never heard her say that. I've heard that there was a church of Beyonce, but it ain't got nothing to do with her. But it's just really interesting. So these people who the church people are bashing, they have never put themselves out to be spiritual gurus or to be, the people who you should be sending your tithes and offering to. I don't think that that's what they are saying. So if Beyonce is not saying that, why are we constantly hearing people talk so negatively about her when it talks about her Christianity? And this is why people don't want to come in fellowship with the saints, because the saints are not nice. They are not nice. Nobody wants to fellowship with people who aren't nice. If you're constantly judging me, come on. If you're judging my nephew, hey, SO, went to a funeral and he had on a hat because the person died. We always wore hats, and the saints came over there. You got to take off that hat. Why would he want to go back to your church? You're mean. You're mean. So when we talk about, church is a place to fellowship with the saints, saints got to come up. Stop being so mean. Jesus was not mean. You know who Jesus talked trash about? Church folk, the church leaders. Jesus never talked trash about the quote unquote sinners. He hung out with them. Why? Because they weren't mean. Y'all. Oh my gosh. Like, for real. It's, when we think about it, we should stop trying to say it's Beyonce's fault that people ain't coming to church. It's, this music is this, the movies and this. It's not. It's the church folk are not nice. We're calling people witches because they burning sage. Because they look at their horoscopes. We saying they dabbling in witchcraft. Why we want to come and hang out with people like that when we know that we like I burn sage? I'm not trying to dispel no spirits, because I know I can pray in Jesus' name if I feel like it's a spirit. But if I do light my sage because of that don't call me no witch. Even if you don't believe it, be careful about do you know that they was calling Jesus a demon? They say he can only call out demons because he is a demon. This church folk. Yes, right. My nephew said the three wise men looked to the stars. Astronomy or astrology. All of it is the same thing. Come on. Like, oh my gosh. I'm just saying. I'm not saying I'm right, because I don't know. I don't know if I'm right or not. But what I do know is we should be very careful about what we say is witchcraft and who we calling witches. Because the way that this society has gone, I wouldn't put it past these people that they'll start burning people who they think are witches. You know what I'm saying? Be careful. Even if God spoke to you and said, hey, don't do that no more. Don't do it. Share with some of the people, but don't be careful about calling things witchcraft and calling people witches. That's not, because let's just be real. Jesus was murdered because the people didn't like how he was operating. It's the same way they did all the other people. They called them witches and they burnt them. If I'm teaching people, if I'm healing people with, with oils and other things like that, I'm a witch. But the people healed. Why can't it be that I have the same healing powers, and I'm just using these things that's in the earth that God put into the earth? People didn't make sage. It comes from the earth. God put it there. What is happening? Like, people, I just don't understand why we are so mean-spirited. And we ready to die on a hill about a religion for real was given to us by white men to keep us in slavery. Let that marinate for a minute. They want us to think that herbs are bad because they can't get paid off of the herbs that grow on the ground. They need you to go get them drugs. I'm a pharmacist. I know they want us to get the best. I'm not saying medication is bad, but I'm just saying herbs not bad either. So, it is Holy Week, y'all. And I just think we should have conversations about the church, about Jesus, about what he wanted us. Like, why did he come? Why did he even allow, why did he do the things that he did that was going to lead them to murder him? He did it because he wanted us to have knowledge. He wanted us to have the information for ourselves. He wanted us to know that we had God in us. We didn't need to go to a priest. We didn't need to sit up in church all day, every day to get God. God was with us wherever we were. They say marijuana is bad until they could tax it. Yep. And now that they taxing it, it's fine. In most states, you're right. But if they can find a way to tax all these herbs and it's going to be fine, and listen, like I said, I'm not here to condemn the church or anything like that. I'm just saying, think about why people don't want to go to church. I was born and raised in church. My grandfather was a Church of God in Christ preacher. And let me tell y'all about that real quick. He was a Church of God in Christ preacher. He could never become a bishop. He was an elder. They would never let him be a bishop because he was a divorcee. And he divorced a woman that beat his kids, my mama included, beat them kids, mistreated them, kept them. You talking about Cinderella? My mama and her sisters lived that Cinderella life. They were locked up in the attic. My mama was sent to work for white people to clean their houses, which was the best thing that ever happened to her because those white people would give her little cookies to take home. She would take them home so her and her sisters could eat because the stepmama would not feed them all the time. And my grandfather couldn't be a bishop because he divorced her. So y'all already know I've always side-eyed the church. Always. Even though I went and all of that, I've always side-eyed them. Because that ain't right. That ain't right at all. When I got pregnant with my son, out of wedlock, right? Because I wasn't finna marry no crazy, stupid person, right? But had my baby out of wedlock. When they say don't kill and all that stuff, but then they take away my job at the church because I didn't have a baby. I'm not the pastor. I'm just, teaching Sunday school. But, it's all good. But like I said, let's just have a conversation. I could be wrong. If you don't agree with me, fine. Chime in the comments. Chime in. If you agree with me, chime in. But let's just be clear. I love God. I follow Jesus. I follow what the teachings of Jesus. But I don't necessarily go to church and commune with the people who would think I'm a witch. Because I read astrology. I do numerology. I look at my numbers. I burn some sage and incense every now and then. And I believe I can heal people. I believe that the words that I have, it has healing power. And I don't believe, I will not die on everything that's in the Bible, because it's not written by God. It's written by people who were inspired by God. But sometimes they get it wrong. And those people thought that the world was flat. So they didn't know. They didn't know about the planets. They didn't know everything. But, okay. So I'm not going to be on, I'm going to leave now, because I really am, my skin getting hot, because it just really infuriates me to hear people calling things witchcraft and calling people witches, because I feel like I was told, actually, in a previous life, I was probably killed because they thought I was a witch, because, and my voice could heal people. Yeah. And say Jesus was bringing people back from the dead. Yes, he was. And that's why they was calling it. That's why they killed him. I mean, for real. Oh, he can only call out demons because he must be one. All of that stuff. This is what I'm saying. So I know that's why I love Jesus. I'm like looking at the stuff. I'm trying to hear more stuff about him. I'm learning, and I'm like, I want to know. But I do believe that we got to be careful about calling people witches and calling things witchcraft, because it's the same thing that got Jesus murdered. And, it makes people like me afraid sometimes to actually talk about what we think and what we believe, because we don't want to get persecuted by the church people. My book, Why Are Church Folk Poor? Oh my God, I had so many people to just tear into me because of that title. They didn't read the book. They just didn't like the title. And here's the thing. Some of y'all may not be poor in y'all pocket, but y'all poor in the spirit, because y'all just mean. Y'all poor in health, diabetes, heart disease, cholesterol, high blood pressure. Poor in the spirit, poor in health, and poor in the pocket. And you might have enough to pay your bills, but do you really have enough overflow to give to people? Listen, all I'm saying is it's Holy Week. Let's kind of dissect some of the things that we believe. The stuff that we're doing and how we are pushing people out of the church, and not just out of the church. Some people have gotten pushed so far that they don't even believe in God no more. So they don't even have the comfort of knowing that love, that unconditional love that God gives, because the church's love is so conditional. Let's think about that, y'all. It's Holy Week. Let's let everybody know how good God is, how much God is love and not judgment, and that God is there with them, and then they can go to God and they can ask God to come up through them to be the love that they need and to be the support that they need. Let's stop making them think that God is only about people who are perfect, people who are doing all these things right, following the 10 Commandments, which you didn't even, I'm not going to even go there, but come on now.